Hello and welcome to our Group 2 Digital Citizenship Group Project presentation for the course ED 505-192 at West Alabama with Dr. Jerry Jackson. For this project, we were assigned to group number 2, and our members include Victoria Zahn, Riley Boyle, Chandria Alexander, and Russell Stringer. For our group project, we chose to cover 2 topics. The first topic is bullying using social media, texting, or other forms of online communications, also known as cyberbullying. The second topic is emergency online teaching, specifically teaching online during the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact it had on the digital divide. We start by defining cyberbullying. What is cyberbullying? According to the Pew Research Center, there are effectively 6 different behaviors someone can do online that is considered as cyberbullying. Those 6 behaviors include using offensive names, spreading false rumors, receiving unsolicited explicit images, physical threats against another person, frequently being asked about whereabouts and activities by a non-guardian, and sharing explicit images without the other person's consent. One thing as educators we should think about when talking about cyberbullying is how can we, as a society of educators serving children on a daily basis, help combat cyberbullying? According to the Pew Research Center, nearly half of all teens have claimed that they've experienced cyberbullying, with offensive name-calling being the most common reported type of cyberbullying. Their study shows that 54% of teenage girls between the ages of 15 and 17 have reported being cyberbullied in some way. That group, teenage girls between 15 and 17, are the most at risk for almost all cyberbullying types, with 36% reporting being called offensive names, 33% reporting having false rumors spread about them, 25% having received explicit images they didn't ask for, 20% being constantly monitored and tracked online, and 9% claiming to have had explicit images of them shared without their consent. One major challenge of cyberbullying is anonymity. Students are more likely to engage in cyberbullying versus in-person bullying because it is easier to get away with and it doesn't play on their conscience as much, since they're not saying it face-to-face against the person that they're bullying. They can't see the reaction of their victim, and it is considered to be no physical harm done. According to the National Library of Medicine and their article of a Canadian study on cyberbullying done in 2010, as many as 50% of children report knowing who their tormentor is, even though cyberbullying is considered anonymous. But the percentage of children that claimed they would report it to a teacher or their parents was relatively low in comparison to the percentage that would tell their friends about it. The article references 2 different studies. One showed that as little as 2% of students claimed that they would report it to their teacher, while the other showed that the percentage maxed out at only 40% that would tell their teacher. Those same 2 studies showed that as little as 13% or as many as 74% would tell their friends about it, and also while as little as 9% or as many as 57% would report it to their parents. Another major challenge of cyberbullying is that it is extremely difficult to detect. Since cyberbullying occurs solely online, it can be difficult for teachers to spot since they cannot manage what students do online outside of schools. Educators are left searching for signs and symptoms of cyberbullying. While there are programs such as ClassWise that allow teachers to monitor what their students are doing on the school-provided computers, if the student is not using that computer or using that computer without the software installed and running, the teacher would have no way of knowing what the student is doing, so the teachers are left relying heavily on students reporting what they know. One opportunity for cyberbullying is for teachers to educate their students. Teachers can educate students on what cyberbullying looks like, what the effects are, and how harmful it can be, and about how devastating the long-lasting impacts can be on the victim and the bully. It can also help students to become advocates for themselves and others. If students see their peers being cyberbullied and report it to a parent, teacher, or trusted adult, the administration can band together to help find solutions to help stop these acts. Or the students can band together themselves and form an anti-bullying group and work with programs such as Bridgeway's Outside In, as referenced in this video from ABC 3340.
Since the pandemic, many who work in local school districts say bullying has increased. ABC 3340's Muriel Bailey looked into this crisis in the classroom. She found some high school students helping to address the problem at the elementary and middle school level.
Shelby Hardy is a senior at Pelham High. When she's not in class learning, she's a peer helper at Pelham Middle School. Her focus is putting an end to bullying.
Bullying has gotten so much worse from when I was in middle school, so I'm glad that I get to be a part of the experience, like helping them in that journey growing up.
She works with the nonprofit Bridgeway's Outside In program, where she received training to identify what bullying looks like, the different kinds, and ways to combat it.
It's cool watching kids develop and grow in their maturity, because when you're little, it's like, oh, it's a joke, it's funny, you pick on someone because that's what the cool thing is to do. We've shown the school that not bullying, being a good person is it's cool.
In March, Hardy and other peer helpers raised money to keep the anti-bullying program at their school.
I think it's a big problem. I think it's everywhere in every school right now.
Program manager Kelly Consul says the program was developed in a response to a rise in bullying. Since the pandemic, she's noticed an increase in cyberbullying.
While we were doing a lot more social distancing and spending a lot more time at home, students and peers and young people spend a lot more time on social media.
The seniors help middle school students better understand the feelings and emotions of others.
Resonates a lot more when it comes from those high school students, since they were in their shoes a few years ago.
For Hardy, it's a way to give back.
I want to be seen as a friend, someone to talk to, a familiar face that you can come to.
Muriel Bailey, ABC 3340 News.
If you'd like to see Bridgeway's Outside In program at your child's school, you can learn more by going to our website, abc3340.com.
Our first strategy to helping mitigate or resolve these challenges for P through 12 learners is to educate and empower them against cyberbullying. The article we cited from Schoenfeld about learning in digital environments talks about teaching digital citizenship, encouraging open communication, and promoting empathy and respect. Schools can introduce programs that are focused on responsible online behavior, conduct sessions to help students recognize and respond to cyberbullying more effectively, build trust between students, parents, and teachers for reporting incidents, and use social, emotional learning activities to foster understanding and kindness. A great example of this strategy is the Be Internet Awesome lesson from Google that offers engaging resources for safe online practices. Our second strategy to help mitigate and resolve this issue for P through 12 learners is to strengthen the reporting against cyberbullying and develop support systems. This information comes from the same article from Schoenfeld and talks about having anonymous reporting tools, having access to support, and creating social media partnerships. Schools can create safe channels for students to report bullying without fear, communicate clear and well-defined school policies against and consequences for cyberbullying, provide counselors and mental health services for affected students, and collaborate with platforms to address bullying behaviors online. A great example of this comes from the stopbullying.gov website. This site provides resources to combat bullying in educational settings. Now on to our second topic of our presentation: the impact emergency online teaching had on the digital divide. According to the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, the digital divide is the gap between those who have affordable access, skills, and support to effectively engage online and those who do not. As technology constantly evolves, the digital divide prevents equal participation and opportunities in all parts of life, while disproportionately affecting people of color, indigenous peoples, households with low incomes, people with disabilities, people in rural areas, and older adults. There are 5 major impacts that emergency online teaching had on the digital divide. Ultimately, it caused us to be aware of everyone's equal access to devices, internet connectivity, digital literacy, socioeconomic factors, and educational disparities. When we think about this topic and the effects it had on society, it's important to think about who is responsible for bridging this gap, and how can we better serve our students during these times of crisis. A few of these impacts are referenced in the following video.
My name is Amanda Carino. I'm a mother of two girls. Abigail, she's almost 7, and I have Elena, she's going to be 4 coming up in January. The pandemic was something that was a huge curveball. We had to go virtually, and I'm now juggling them at home. I think that was my hardest struggle. Then there was parts where she had to quote unquote respond. And being with a computer, she's not able to type. Who had to do all that work? Me. I had to upload the videos, upload the pictures. That way the teacher could see that we were participating in the work. Do fish make sounds? Where do you see the fishies? There's things in a classroom that set up the child for success, just to have different learning experiences. And unfortunately, I didn't have that here. I really tried, to have at least a pencil and paper to let's draw for a couple of minutes, but it's still not the same interaction or social time she could have had in the classroom.
That was probably the hardest part about virtual school, is just not having the classroom environment, which is more contained, and you can kind of focus more on the teaching and learning.
I think the digital divide is definitely a real thing, unfortunately, and I think that in order for us to ensure equity, that we need to really change the definition of what public education is, to include the mandatory access to all things digital. I think that students should, upon registering for public school, that they should be issued with a computing device that is theirs to keep.
Once the pandemic hit, we got a donation of, I can't remember, maybe 140, 150 Chromebooks in order to serve each and every one of our students. In today's world, we look at it and we wouldn't think that you have families that may not have internet access, but unfortunately we did have some, and they were able to come to us and we were able to help them out with that issue. Unfortunately, in our community, there's not a heavy emphasis on computer technology. You have to make sure that you provide for your family. Sometimes as a family and as a community, you can fall behind.
Communication here is key. If a student, had a issue with their computer, or if they needed a hotspot, or if, the internet connection at their home was an issue, that open communication really made it so that we could fix that within the day.
It was a couple families that, I went out, make sure I provided them with their Chromebooks if they couldn't make it due to the pandemic, or, they couldn't make it from work or whatsoever. Also, we provided each family that needed a Wi-Fi.
In the 21st century, it is absolutely a right for everyone to have access to all digital technology. I think some solutions for closing that digital divide is to make people aware, just to educate people on how difficult it is, and to let them know that there really are families out there that don't have access to this.
The biggest takeaway from last school year was just the support from administration, technology, our amazing parents. We all had to work together to make virtual learning a success. The other takeaway is how adaptable and resilient our scholars are. They amazed me every single day. They stayed strong. They showed learning gains. Our parents did an excellent job of embracing it, understanding, and working with us as a team and as a community. I think that's one of the great things that came out of this, is that we really are in a technological world, and students and parents alike just almost had to learn these things. If it happens now as a school, we are prepared. We're prepared, and I know that our parents are prepared.
I think having to go fully on computer really did help my daughter. She definitely learned some computer skills because of this transition.
Two major impacts or challenges that emergency online teaching had on the digital divide was, first, the impact it had on the students, and second, the difficulties that teachers faced during this time. First, let's talk about the impact it had on the students. Pandemics like COVID-19 have made education increasingly dependent on technology, highlighting disparities in students' access to necessary devices and resources. Students without consistent access to technology and internet may struggle to keep up with their peers, leading to gaps in their education as they miss out on materials and assignments available to others. Now let's talk about the difficulties that the teachers had. Teachers face challenges in providing equal education to all students due to unequal access to the internet and essential technology such as computers. To bridge this gap, teachers borrowed laptops from their schools and created opportunities for students to use technology during their class time. A study published in the Midwestern Educational Researcher found that many teachers felt their schools lacked sufficient technological support and resources for students. One of the opportunities with this issue is the inclusion of technology in education. Integrating technology into education enables students to complete assignments outside of school, helping to prevent gaps in their learning. Additionally, it prepares students for future careers by increasing their familiarity with technology. Developing strong digital literacy skills is essential for individuals to locate and interpret information effectively in the workplace, making it a critical component of modern education. Another opportunity is receiving support from the community. In response to the growing need for internet and computer access, local communities have stepped in to support students. Community and local libraries offer both computer and internet access, providing spaces for students to complete assignments or conduct research. Additionally, individuals and companies have donated technological devices and internet access, enabling students to work on school assignments from home. One great example is Laptops for Learning, an organization that donates refurbished laptops to students to support their education. Our first strategy to helping mitigate this issue for P through 12 learners is providing devices and internet access to the affected students. Schools and governments can distribute laptops, tablets, and mobile hotspots to students lacking access. According to the article we cited from Joseph, schools and governments can provide laptops, tablets, and mobile hotspots to students who lack access to essential technology. They can also form partnerships with tech companies that can help lower costs of devices and internet connectivity. For example, the Chicago Connected program offers free high-speed internet to eligible students. Additionally, schools should be ensuring those devices come preloaded with necessary educational software and tools. They should also be providing ongoing technical support and training for students and their families to further enhance equitable access to technology. The second strategy to help resolve or lessen the impact of this issue on P12 learners is community Wi-Fi initiatives. According to the same article cited as Joseph et al. 2024, public Wi-Fi hotspots can be established in libraries, community centers, and schools to increase access. Additionally, school buses equipped with Wi-Fi can be stationed in underserved neighborhoods. Partnerships with internet service providers, or ISPs, can help offer discounted or free access to families. For example, the Austin Independent School District expanded community Wi-Fi to support students. Regular assessments are also necessary to identify areas that need improved coverage. Our third and final strategy to help overcome this issue is flexible and offline learning options. To support students without reliable internet access, schools can provide printed materials and preloaded USB drives for offline use. Developing apps that function without a continuous internet connection is another solution. For example, the Los Angeles Unified School District implemented alternative learning resources to support offline education. Teachers should also be trained to adapt lesson plans for offline formats, and ongoing feedback and support should be provided to students using these resources. In conclusion, here's a summary of the key takeaways. Regarding cyberbullying in the digital age, the increase in online activity during and after the COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the risk of cyberbullying causing emotional distress, academic struggles, and mental health issues among students. In response, schools and communities are implementing anti-bullying initiatives and educating students on digital citizenship. With regards to the impact that emergency online teaching had on the digital divide, the shift to remote learning also revealed significant gaps in technology access and educator preparedness, with many students experiencing learning loss, reduced engagement, and social isolation. Moving forward, addressing cyberbullying requires proactive policies, empathy-driven programs, and teaching safe online behavior. Strengthening education systems post-pandemic demands innovation, equity, and a focus on building community to ensure a safer, more resilient learning environment for all students. Together, we can create a safer, more resilient learning environment for all. Thank you.